Welcome. We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn continuing professional education credit for attending this session. There are no polling questions or attendance checks. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz using the Earmark app. Visit earmark.app in your web browser. You can also download the mobile app by scanning the QR code on the screen. Log in, or if you're new, create your free account. Be sure to use a valid email address because that's where we'll send your course completion certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. It takes us a few days to create the course on the app, so if you are attending this session live, please wait a few days. We'll email you a link to the course when it is ready. If you have questions or need help, email us at support@earmarkcpe.com. And now, on to the event.
Hello, everyone. I'm Zach from Earmark, and thanks for joining us today or watching this on demand. Welcome to ChatGPT 201, when to use projects, GPTs, agents, and assistants for modern accounting firms. I'm going to hand this over to your two instructors today now. Kelly and Isaac, please take it away.
Right. Thanks, Zach, for the introduction. As you mentioned, we're going to be talking about ChatGPT 2.1. What are some of those features beyond the basics that we've seen a lot of accounting firms using to power their workflows? As you brought up, we have our kind, lovely moderator here, Kelly Parks from calmwaters.ca, and yours truly, Isaac Perdomo. I'm the founder of Opso.co, an agency that helps accounting firms support more revenue without adding headcount by using data, automation, and AI. Kelly will be joining me here just to moderate and ask questions and letting me know if I'm getting too technical and dumbing me down. But Kelly, why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about what you do and how you help people?
Sure. Okay. So I'm Kelly Parks. I am outside of Toronto. We have a polar vortex coming in on Thursday. Isaac, I bet Dominican Republic does not have a polar vortex coming in this week.
We do not.
You do not. Okay. So I work with accounting firms. I actually do their internal books. So if they have QBO files, I do their accounting for them internally. So adding controls to out of control books, we could call that for accounting firms, keeping them in real time. And so that they aren't scrambling at tax time and they have useful data to power their own firms. I also do cleanup files. So if they get hot mess clients, but they don't have the wherewithal to clean up those files, I clean up the files and then hand them back for the monthly recurring work. I do some process consulting and I have some workflow templates. You, Isaac, what about you? Oh, so did I mention? Yeah, I'm outside of Toronto, but I spend a lot of time in the US. I do both Canadian and US QBO files.
Perfect. And I know you've been a true member of the community, meaning you're a bookkeeper and you've been around for a decade plus in the space. I appreciate you joining me today. All right. I guess a little bit about us and what we do. We are Opso.co. I am the founder, and we've been in business for about the last 5 years. Over the last 3, specifically working exclusively with modern accounting firms, and we'll be able to serve over 100 of them in that time. We believe that the accounting industry in particular has a responsibility really to make the most out of their automations, the technology, and AI to give their clients a better outcome and their team a better life. So we set out to do that by providing them not only the consulting, but also the development and implementation services to bring some of these more technically complex automations and AI implementations to life. We have some people in the audience. I saw a comment. Melanie, thanks for sharing that. I'd love to hear where people are joining us from, just to see if we have encouraged a little bit of activity. I know you always appreciate knowing where people are from. So just throw that out there to see if anyone's present today is able to engage.
Okay, actually, you know what else would be fun to put in? It'd be fun to know where people are from. We have a chat. So I'm in a couple of accounting chat groups, and one of them right now is blowing up on Well, earlier in the week, it was what kind of potato salad we all like to eat. And today it is if we are turkey, ham, or seafood for Thanksgiving dinner. So
There you go. We have people from
whole
Dallas.
geez. So if you want to put in whether you're turkey, ham, my family is turkey and ham for Thanksgiving and turkey and prime rib for Christmas, always with seafood appetizers.
Nice.
Right.
Croatia. Wow. So we have quite the um, international audience. Although primarily I see South Carolina. Donna, I know that name. Thanks for joining. Florida,
Pizza.
Indianapolis, New York. Pizza. Ah, that's my
Pizza.
guilty pleasure.
Okay, I didn't see that one coming.
That's my guilty pleasure indeed. All right. So I appreciate that there's some people there. At least we're not, talking to ourselves, Kelly. That's always appreciated.
Actually,
So
you
that,
and I talk to ourselves, or just the two of us.
yeah, I don't think we would have a problem going the entire hour, probably more. But
Mhm.
good to have a couple more faces and little icons at the very
Right.
least on the screen.
Turkey and ham. Cool.
Let's get going then. Let's start with some context, like why you can't sleep on AI. I was literally reflecting about this morning. 5 days from now, ChatGPT turns 3 years old. Isn't that crazy? Like
That's
it's
crazy.
a new thing anymore. It's become mainstreams, and I think like even the people that thought this was going to be a fad start to realize that it's here to stay. Like it's not going anywhere. But it's moving so quickly. Literally, this presentation I had to update multiple times and fact check last night just because things are changing on a daily basis, and it's kind of really hard to catch up with it all. Of course, I also recognize. Go ahead, Kelly.
It's kind of exhausting actually trying to keep up with it all.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, and we're in this space, and we have to stay on top of it. And even for us, sometimes it gets a little tiring. And what I wanted to mention too, of course, the accounting firm and the accounting industry as a whole has been known to have issues around, for example, pricing and competition from SaaS or fintech directly competing with your business, or capacity issues around the talent shortages and not having the ability to find enough people, or having people that are demanding work-life balance for good reason, not being able to overwork them maybe the way other firms could decades ago. Inefficiencies. I also find it interesting how people stack apps, and even then they don't have really an efficient process anyway. And of course, in the merge of all of the demands on firm owners' time and their team to deal with clients, keep them happy, keep the team happy as well, there's really not a lot of time either to focus on some of these things. So my hope is that you see AI as at least a contributor to solving some of those issues. And my hope is that today we talk a little bit about how so.
Sure.
All right. So just to get a little bit of context of where people are at as it relates to AI, I like to establish this kind of spectrum of going from AI ignorant, or someone that's at this point really choosing not to learn the tool. I wouldn't recommend it. To AI curious, where you're open to learning more about what others are doing. You're curious to see what your peers are up to, all the way up to AI chat, people that are regularly using AI on a daily basis, but it's really more of a conversational process, right? You ask a question, it gives you an answer, then you still need the human to complete it. And going all the way up to workflows and agents, when you start to use AI to get work done in the workflow section, more in a very predefined way with guardrails and limiting as to what exactly you define. And in the agent side, with a little bit more power, with a little bit more leeway, or more open-ended tasks. So I'd love to hear from you all. Where do you feel you and your firm are in this progression? So put there in the chat which one this would resonate with you the most. And we'll keep going from there. We have AI chat, says Denise. AI curious, interesting. AI chat with a bit of workflows. I love that, Kelly. I know you're the workflow lady. AI curious, a little bit of AI chat. Perfect. Excellent. That's perfect, because my goal with this presentation is to discuss, or I built it for the people that are in the AI chat phase. They already know how to prompt. They already know how to use the more regular features, but they have a desire to start to integrate AI into their work processes. And from my perspective, the logical steps, at least progressional steps to get their incremental steps, if you're using ChatGPT, are some of these other features within it you can start to leverage, which is the topic of today. Projects, GPTs, assistants, and agents. And we talk a little bit about automation and integration as well, with several examples throughout the process, so we can, I guess, leave with some tangible use case that we can put into motion in our firms and our day-to-day life. Before we dive in, just like a high-level summary of like each of these features and what its purpose is. Fundamentally, all of these features are just a more specialized version of the regular ChatGPT that you can personalize to perform a particular task better. That's fundamentally a better GPT, okay? In the case of projects, which is the first one we'll be talking about, it's really akin to a folder-like structure, right? You just simply, rather than having all your chats, as you typically would, you organize those chats into folders with specific files and specific instructions. As of the last time I did this presentation, you were only able to use it as an individual. Although today, based on some updates, you're able to also share that with your team. And if you're paying for ChatGPT, or if you're using the free option, you can use projects within your ChatGPT sidebar, or Atlas, which is the ChatGPT or OpenAI's browser, which we'll get to look at briefly today if we have the time. Then we have GPTs. Big benefit of GPTs in particular, there's such a thing as a GPT store. So you can both post GPTs to the public, or you can borrow from what the public has already published, fundamentally. With agent, it's a little bit more advanced, because now you have the ability to spin up a browser and do things that you would not be able to do just on the chat. We'll see a little bit what that looks like as well. And then you have assistants, which is a more advanced version that's really more for developers. We'll see a little bit of what that looks like as well. And it has the benefit of you being able to use it within an automation. It comes with its separate pricing from the subscription you would pay as a human being to use it, but it has some benefits as well in terms of being able to scale a process without having to go in manually into ChatGPT to type a prompt in.
Right. Cool.
All right. Kelly, any thoughts on that summary?
No, because I know what's coming next, and I have lots of thoughts when we get to projects.
Perfect. Let's keep going then. Let's talk about projects first. As I mentioned earlier, the best analogy for projects, it's folders. I mean, I wish they would have called it folders. This would be a lot easier. So just like in Google Drive and OneDrive, or in some sort of file management system, you have folders so that you can have separate, groups or files. That's primarily what you can do with projects. You're able to organize your sidebar into specific sections. We'll see some examples in a second. The other thing about projects, and this is actually also new from the last time we did this presentation, you can have a project be almost like an isolated bubble. So you can get it you can give it the ability to self-contain its knowledge, meaning nothing that you've talked about with ChatGPT, it will know, and everything you talk within it won't be able to be shared across your other chats, which can sometimes be useful for certain use cases. Like, for example, if you want to put some like financials of a particular client, and you don't want it to reference that in the future, we'll see how to do that as well. And there's no limit on model selection, which sometimes is one of the things you have to keep in mind with these different features. In this particular case, it has access to all the models you would have access to on your regular account based on the subscriptions you pay. Some examples of what my project sidebar looks like. I have as you can see here, sales coach, a process manager. This is to help me document and systematize processes in your agency. I have a newsletter writer because I write a newsletter every month, and I kind of give it the format and my writing style. And the more I write the newsletters in that little folder, the more it has the memory and the history of the things I've written, so the better it gets. Some other examples that we've heard from other firms when we ask, hey, what are some of the projects you have in workshops like this, are things like rebranding and marketing. Can I get it to strategize about what marketing activities maybe you should be doing for your firm? Tax research, so investigating a particular tax situation for a client. Personal reflection, this can sometimes be almost like a journal-like type for some people, which I personally find it useful, and I have that particular use case on my project sidebar as well. Tax year communication, kind of planning what the communication would look like for your clients across the tax year. And quarterly client meeting insights, providing you insights and advisory and talking points to talk to the client when you meet with them, say on a quarterly, on a regular basis. Now, let's ask the audience, and let's ask you, Kelly.
Okay.
What projects do you have? So
Okay.
while the audience shares in the chat maybe what projects they have at the moment, I'd love you, Kelly, to share what yours look like.
Sure. Okay. And I want to start with that I have the highest level. So now that's not called teams, it's called the business plan. I have the business plan, and I have, I can't remember what you call it, sharing data outside of my ecosystem is turned off. So it's a closed loop ecosystem for me. And the other thing I do is when I engage a client, part of my engagement letter is what apps I am using with them. So there will be the client facing accounting apps like QuickBooks or Dext or payment platforms. So they sign off, including that they have their bank feeds connected. Even if they connected their bank feeds, I have them sign off that their bank feeds are connected. Then I have another section of the apps that I am using that may have their data in them, that they sign off acknowledging that. And so that does include, and specifically the level of ChatGPT that I have. It includes Google Workspace, it includes Financial Sense, ChatGPT, I can't remember what else. But anything that would have their data, they're signing off that their data is being housed by these platforms. And then I have my security policies on what that looks like. So I have client projects. So right now I have a couple of clients that are for sale. That's what I do. I do love them and leave them, either for accounting firms or individually. So I, especially on those cleanups, I will start a project for a cleanup file. I have one right now. I have 14 entities that we need to clean up the due to from for all of those entities. And then we are closing down 9 of the entities. And so basically I put in the trial balances to see what it looks like from the onset. Let me know what's happening here. How big a mess do we have? Some of them are in Excel. They never even made it into an accounting program. So they're all over the map. And then I asked it to spit me out a consolidation spreadsheet with all the tables and formulas that I need on how I am going to account for all of these and let the parent company know what's happening with all of those. So that was entirely useful. The other thing that I will do, oh yeah, somebody put in trial balance consolidation. Oh, that was you, Isaac.
That was me. I just trying to summarize, it looks
My
like that's the goal of,
Yeah. But so I have a client that's for sale right now. And so I put in it's a project. I put in their lease document, asked it to give me the ramifications of getting out of that lease and what that looks like, or how to pass it on to the new entity. We put in some valuation summaries, their financials essentially. And then we asked it to help us maybe figure out where we're going to sell this versus do we just do, is it good? It's going to be an asset sale, not a share sale. And then for my own, so I have lots of projects on the go. I love containing things so that everything's in one place. But then I have ones that I just run a chat because I'm not going to do anything with them. And those are likely the ones that I'm going to delete rather than just keep them all. And so I was trying to figure out for myself personally, do I want to continue to have my so I have a she shed office my company pays me rent because it is a separate building on our property. I was trying to figure out, because I've got stuff going on in retained earnings, I was trying to figure out if I still want to pay myself rent. I ran it all of the scenarios and it spit out an opinion for me. I could have figured it out on my own. Same with the trial balances. Throwing those in was awesome. I will do a trial balance. I'll start a project for cleanup, even if it's just one entity. And I will ask if the trial balance supplied or the tax return matches what's in the books. All kinds of fun things.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I love
I'm
those.
going to tell you about a super not project because I only needed it once. So again, that's where I run the thing. I got a parking ticket in Quebec last month. The parking ticket was in French. I had, in fact, paid for the parking. But whoever decided to give me so I'm reading the parking ticket, but I can't really read French. And there is no way to dispute the ticket on the ticket. I had it translate the ticket for me. Then I had it give me the support email. It found it, and because it wasn't anywhere, showed me how to dispute it, then gave me the dispute letter and the cover letter, and away I went. And sure enough, within a week, that I no longer had that ticket. Otherwise, I would have just paid the $40 because it would have been too much effort to even go through all of that.
Yeah. Honestly, it's funny you mentioned that. I remember sometimes there's one client at one point, they asked me to join a call that they had with a prospect because the prospect could only speak Spanish. So they wanted me to translate for them. When I joined, it took some time for the prospect to come on board, but I literally pulled out my phone, pulled up projects, put it on voice mode, and told ChatGPT, hey, can you please translate whatever I said in English, said it in Spanish, whatever I said in Spanish, say it in English. And we started talking. I was like, you don't need me. You just can pull up your phone as well and run that. So translation is such a, I guess, more personal use cases.
Yeah.
That can be a good one too.
Yeah.
All right. I have one. I'm kind of like hesitant if I share it or not. Who here has a team?
I like Melanie's use case here. Corporate accounting projects are related to month-end close and newly acquired entity integration. So I have a multi-entity friend in there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Anyone else wants to share their projects? I had one that I wanted to share. And I think this one is just useful to practice conversations that sometimes can be interesting to do with the voice mode in particular. So I literally have one. Let me see if I can demo this for you guys, where I ask it to, actually, let me try this. I'll see if you can hear me, if you can hear it well, because that might be a little bit of a hiccup. But it'll tell you what it does. And I'll see if it's effectively a way for me to role play a conversation with a team member.
Right.
I've seen some people use it as well in the context of maybe sales or even a presentation. Every time you have to practice something verbally, actually the voice mode in their phone is a pretty cool way to do that. So let me go ahead and just pull mine up real quick. Okay. The reason I like to open it on my phone is I don't like voice mode in the desktop version, but you let me know, Kelly, if this sounds good enough. Hey, ChatGPT, can you please tell the audience what you're supposed to do this particular project?
Of course. So in this project, I'm basically your management coach for giving feedback. What we do is we walk through a scenario where you as a manager need to deliver some constructive feedback to a team member. We go through a few phases. First, we set up the scenario, then we lock it in to make sure you've got it right. Then we do a little role play where I pretend to be your teammate. And finally, we wrap up with some meta feedback on how you did and how you can improve. It's all about making feedback constructive, actionable, and psychologically safe.
Perfect. Let's test this out. I have a use case of a team member that it's rock star. He delivers good work, but he's sometimes late and sometimes doesn't do like the small admin details after the work, like updating our systems. And I want to have that conversation with him to tell him how important that is so that the rest of the team is aware of when he's done with projects or if he's stuck and we can help them. Could we lock that use case and have a little bit of a role play and then you give me feedback?
Absolutely. Let's get that scenario locked in. So to sum it up, you've got a rockstar team member who delivers great work overall, but sometimes he's late with finishing touches like updating the internal systems. And you want to have a conversation with him about how important it is to keep the team in the loop so that everyone knows when he's done or if he needs help.
Perfect.
If that sounds correct, just confirm that we're locked in and we'll jump right into the role play where I'll act as your teammate.
Perfect. That sounds correct. So I'll act as the manager here and tell you, hey, Mr. Teammate, thanks a lot for joining in. I thought I'd check in with you about something I've observed recently and see if we can align on how that could be improved. Is not a good time to talk about that?
Absolutely. We're all set. Let's jump in. Manager. Hey, Mr. Teammate. Thanks a lot for joining me. I thought I'd check in with you about something I've observed recently and see if we can align on how that could be improved. Is now a good time to talk about that? Sure thing. Yeah, absolutely. I've got a few minutes. Let me know what's on your mind.
So, as I mentioned earlier, I think I've seen some, I've loved your work. I've seen the work you produce. I really like it, but you sometimes forget to update our project management system so that the team is aware that you've accomplished the task. And I'd love for you to be able to be more diligent with that so that the team is able to understand where you're at and if you need help. Do you think that's something we could improve?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. Honestly, I didn't realize it was causing any confusion. Sometimes I just get caught up in the next piece of work and forget those admin steps. But yeah, I'm definitely open to working on that and making sure the team stays in the loop. Thanks for letting me know.
Perfect. Anything else, anything you think you could do to make sure you follow through that? I'm happy to check in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. I think that sounds good. Maybe just a quick reminder now and then, or even just me making a habit of doing it right after I finish a task. I think we can definitely improve that. And yeah, let's check in a couple weeks and see how it's going. Thanks for bringing it up.
Perfect. Let's wrap up the role play and just maybe give me feedback on anything I could have done better.
Absolutely. Let's shift into that meta feedback mode. So first off, you did a great job starting out by appreciating the team member's strengths. That's always a solid way to keep the conversation positive and psychologically safe. Another strength was how you clearly pointed out the specific behavior, just that the admin updates were missing, and not making it about personal traits. In terms of improvements, one thing you could add is just a tiny bit more about the impact on the team. You touched on it, but reinforcing that can help the teammate really understand the why. For example, you might say, when the system isn't updated, the rest of the team might not know you finished, and it can cause a little confusion. Also, you did a great job inviting the teammate to suggest solutions. That's fantastic for engagement. So next steps, practice reinforcing the impact a bit more, and remember that it's great to end on that note of trust and confidence, which you did well.
Yeah.
Over.
Melanie asked, what if the employee is more defensive? You can literally change the prompt to say, act as a hyper defensive employee. And if you know your employees a little more, you might be able to prompt the project to align with maybe what you would expect from that person. But actually, I use that particular project quite a bit because I find those conversations emotionally challenging. And whatever I can do to prepare, that'd be amazing. Yes, demo that. Again, you can create that project, and can I tell it that in a little bit more detail? I'd love to move on just to share some other things because we still have a couple of other features we want to cover.
Except, can I just mention?
A fair point.
Can I mention the voice thing? And Melanie, that's a great question. What if the employee is more defensive? So I am with Isaac. It works much better on my mobile than it works on my desktop. And so I also use it for simple stuff like just noodling through an idea. And I don't necessarily have it talk back to me. I'll have it make a to-do list while I'm out for my run. I use Strava now. So now I have my phone, didn't used to. So now I can ask it to do things while I'm thinking of them. And then later I just talk to it. I don't overthink it. Don't worry about the ums and ahs. I had a friend who was spending too much time perfecting what he was going to say to it. You don't need to do that. Just blurt it out as if you're talking to a friend and get on with using the voice. And then I don't even create the projects. I create the projects later when I get back to my desktop, if it's applicable, and just drag the conversation in to keep them organized. So number one on voice, don't overthink it. Just get going on it and get comfortable with that.
And again, whatever scenario you want to demo, Melanie, just tell it. Hey, could you act more defensive? Could you act more protective of your time? Could you say fewer words? Whatever you expect that to be, it's very helpful. And again, for any kind of conversations in sales context is also a lot helpful, very helpful to kind of have those kind of like role-playing friends, essentially.
Right.
Let's move on from projects and let's talk about GPTs because we are halfway there. Want to keep pace. GPTs, as we brought up earlier, they have such a thing as a GPT store. So I think the best analogy is really, it's just like installing apps on your phone. You have a specific GPT that's built for a task. And some of this, its unique features are that, number one, you can actually execute actions on another tool. We'll see that with the demo we have today. You're a little bit limited in terms of like the models you can select. Like, it's not like, I don't think 5.1 is still available. And something comes a little late. And if you want to use the custom actions, the first unique feature I have laid out here, there's just specific models you can use for that. It's also something that can be shared to external users, to your clients, to other peers, not just organization members.
To your spouse.
As well. Why not? All right. Now, some GPT use cases that we've seen, we've heard from other firms, sometimes they have a client-specific advisor. Right? You have a GPT that has access to the financials of this client, maybe the way in which you advise, and you allow your team members to talk to it, or maybe even the client itself to ask questions about their own financial situations. I've seen a lot of like GPTs built for a particular tax strategy. Like, I'm not a tax professional, so you guys will correct me, whatever is like, but does the 1031 exchange GPT I'm gonna build, and the clients or team members can come in and explain a particular situation and have the GPT determine if that would apply or not. Review layers, you kind of brought this up to some degree with the trial balance, but every time you have to like review or compile or summarize some sort of deliverable, like a return, a financial, a trial balance, whatever it might be, can be very useful for those things as well. And one that we've heard as well is like SOP-like team training. Imagine that rather than you sending a document to a team so they can learn how to onboard a client, you're sending them a client onboarding GPT that they can ask questions to, and it's a little bit more interactive way for them to learn about your processes internally. They can ask specific questions and get the specific parts of the document that would be relevant for what they have in mind at that time. I have a GPT as an example that I want to share that is about creating visual flowcharts, in this case, for a multi-entity relationship. You mentioned earlier, Kelly, that you have a client with 14 entities. I'm sure sometimes the relationship between those entities, it's hard to communicate. We've worked with some tax professionals that are sometimes suggesting or advising the clients on how to structure their various entities. That's very hard to communicate with words. So the idea here is to use, in this case, I'm going to use the GPT from Whimsical. It just happens to be the flowchart tool we use, but it's possible some of the other flowchart creator softwares have something similar. And I'll just ask it to create or to communicate the entity structure of OpenAI. How about that?
Okay.
Let's demo that for you guys.
Okay, and then I want to talk about a flowchart I created.
Let's go.
I'm not going to show it, but it was interesting.
Yeah, perfect. So here's what I'm going to do. First, I'll go to ChatGPT. By the way, just for reference, when this is where you see both GPTs, projects, and chats, right? These are the three toggles you can put in. We mentioned projects earlier. This is where you create a new project. And as I mentioned earlier, now project has this ability to not only default, which says project can access memories from other chats and vice versa, or you can have it as an isolated bubble to say, hey, don't share anything else that I say here with any other chat. Like don't keep it on your memory fundamentally. Although I'm demoing GPT, I'll just briefly explain on project as well here how to share it. If I share an example, you see the share button at the top. That now you should be able to share either with anyone or in your organization or with a specific individual on your organization. Okay? And you'll see that little icon suggesting that now this project is shared. Now, we're going to go to GPTs. In GPTs, you'll see the option for exploring GPTs. And this is where you see the GPT store, quote unquote, where you see what are some of the featured GPTs available at the moment and what others are using. You have the benefit that when you click on any of those, you'll be able to see their rating, how many people and how many conversations that people have with it. So a little bit of a kind of popularity or rating or system there. I'll just look for whimsical in this case, which is the tool I want to use. I'll start a chat, and I have a prompt here already good to go that says the following: create a visual flowchart for the entity structure of OpenAI that clearly illustrates how its nonprofit and for-profit are connected, along with ownership percentages and value sharing agreements. Then it lays out the various entities like the nonprofit, the LLC, the limited partnership, Microsoft that has quite a big share, and some investors and employees. I'll just click here. And the thing I want you guys to pay attention to is that it's talking to a connector. So one of the benefits of GPTs that you don't have in project is that you can, in this case, connect this to an external tool and have it perform something on that tool. In this case, it's literally creating that flowchart for me. I notice that it's suggesting here A, B, C, D. I can just reprompt it and call it, hey, can you adjust the letters A, B, C, D to be the entity names instead? And it's semi-reliable, right? It's not like gonna be a perfect flowchart all the time, but here you can see, okay, which company manages the LP. Microsoft has an exclusive commercialization via Azure with the LP. There's another operational arm for OpenAI projects and research, et cetera, et cetera. Actually, the version that it created the last time I prompted it, I want to share you what that looks like. It also showcased sort of like the various percentages, right? And suggesting, hey, Microsoft has 49% profit share, 20% API revenue, investors have a 51% share, cap at 100x. And you can see how this is so much more clear to understand or communicate compared to just trying to, write this in an email, essentially. So Kelly, tell us about your flowchart.
Actually, it's similar. But I had it, which ones were being sunsetted, what their relationship. So I got the information. It came in a flowchart, but the flowchart was just about making my face melt off. So I actually just had it refine that 14 multi-entity thing so that we all had a better idea of it, especially which ones were being sunsetted. And it was kind of a fun project. But I want to get to Melanie's question because it's kind of important. What about security? Our company mandated that we can't share sensitive information. Are these functions available in Copilot? I just want to say you could redact information if you still need help with things. And I know nothing about Copilot because Microsoft truly makes me feel like a ding dong. Yeah.
I love that. I love that phrase, ding dong. I was hoping you said it today. But to Pamela's point and to Kelly's point, there are some features that are similar. I'm not a huge Microsoft fan either. I know Gemini has like gems and Claude has projects, and or I think they call it something different, but each of them have like their own special way of calling it, like a folder. Oh, Copilot has notebooks. There you go.
Yeah, thank you, Pamela. So Pamela, thanks for, let me just read that off so Pamela gets the creds here. So Pamela Kyle said, yes, Microsoft Copilot offers features comparable to Chat's projects or custom GPTs and saved chats, though they have different names and nuances. There's notebooks. And so Melanie, all you can do is redact the information or start to go into GPT and start to have it help you make or chat, have it make a case for the different subscription levels and what the security looks like. but redacting information is really the only answer for you there.
Yeah. All right. Well, for the audience, any GPTs or similar in other platforms you guys have? Would love to know. Always interested in what others are doing, so I can update these presentations and pass the knowledge along. All right, let's talk about the next thing. And I will go a little bit more quickly because I do want to talk about agents at the end. Assistants. The analogy here is like, it's like building your own app in this case, right? Rather than having an app that's already available, you're kind of creating your own thing. And you have a couple of unique features within that. Specifically, now you're able to execute that from an API. Fancy way of saying, I can now run something through a prompt without logging into ChatGPT. I can use it from an automation.
Can we back up that, Isaac, back up that bus a little bit? So an API basically is what allows different technology pieces to speak to each other. That's how software or apps, whatever you want to call it, that's how they all talk to each other, share information, start an event or a task or whatever.
Right. That's exactly correct. So imagine you wanted something to show up in your folders. For each client, you want to make sure you have your financials analyzed, and you'll just put them all in a folder. You want to analyze each one. If you don't want to go in and have to manually put each one in, you can set up an automation that says, hey, when this file joins into this folder, go ahead, analyze it, and create another document, or attach to that document your AI summary analysis, just as a random example. There's some additional settings you have available that you usually don't have from the and GPTs. You can almost like, in a deeper way, customize its behavior, how creative, how deterministic it is. We'll see briefly what that looks like. And this is ideal when you want to automate or scale a use case. So if you found a good use case that's working well within a project, within a GPT, this is typically what we do with clients, where they say, hey, I'm having my clients go in, or having my team go in to do this specific thing. It's working pretty well. Now I want that to happen without them having to log in and do that manually. This is where assistants come in handy. I have this particular demo, but I do want to go quickly. So I won't like demonstrate it fully, but at least show you what was the specific problem this firm wanted to solve. Essentially, similar to what we've been talking about, she had a good prompt to review financial statements. And she wanted to make sure every team member went through and effectively, she wanted to make sure to run every financial statement through every client's financial statement every month. And I think she had at the time 60, 65 clients, right? So the whole goal was to have a checklist, but pass that through AI and have an output of like, hey, this is what some of the issues we found look like. This is kind of the outcome of what that looked like in the end. So she wakes up every 15th of the month, and she gets this particular, what we're seeing here on the screen for every client. Like every client, she uses Teamwork, and actually Donna's here. I don't know if she's still here. She might be. So the person we built this for might be here with us today. But essentially, you went in, she went in, woke up every 15th of the month, and for her 60 clients, this list that we're seeing now came up, which is like, for each client, their financial statements were reviewed by AI, ran through a prompt that she custom created to check some of the common issues she finds on her client's financial statements. And as you can see here, some examples like, hey, this accrued retirement account didn't change, and maybe it should. That's something that maybe we should look into. Distributions exceeded net income. Maybe that's something we should look into. There's a missing expense here because it was 100 last month, now it's 0. Again, this is something we should look into. And the benefit here, as I mentioned, the idea that you can send this data anywhere you want. In this case, she wanted it in her project management tool, but this is something that shows up there because it's running on the background.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, cool.
All right. I do want to talk about agents. So I'm not going to go into like super detail about this particular demonstration. This might be useful as well. This was something that was put together by our friend, or something similar by our friend Chad Davis, of like a summarizing projects, GPTs, and assistants up until now. Projects you can share on Teams, 2 GPTs on the store, systems you use via automation. You can pretty much use all models for all of them, with the exception of custom actions and GPTs. Deep research, which if you've used that feature, that's a feature that takes like 10, 15 minutes to go online and research something in detail, only in projects in this particular case. Custom actions only in GPTs. Tool selection, which is am I able to tell it, hey, you can or cannot look for web search or create images. That's something that you have available in GPTs and Assistant. And selective memory, which is what I talked about earlier, of like creating an isolated bubble so that it only has that context of that particular project. It's something that will only be available on projects, just in case you guys wanted to get it more clear differentiation between the three things. I almost always get a question towards the end of this, is like, what's the difference again? So I thought I'd share that quick summary.
Can I do a quick shout out? Because you mentioned you opened the door to Chad Davis, who has some great information available. He runs a community group called Automation Town. Isaac, you do some sessions in Automation Town. If you really want to get into some of this stuff, that is the place to go. And it is not a super spendy community, but if you want to keep up on all of this minute by minute changes, the stuff you can build, crowdsource, we build stuff in the moment in there. So
Right.
that is, if this stuff is you really want to learn more about it and actually start to do things, Automation Town, Chad Davis is the place to go for that.
Yeah.
You're doing some stuff in Future Firm as well on automation.
That's right.
Future Firm is a bigger community. It's got a lot more to it. Automation Town, that's the place if you just want to rack up this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate the shout out. I do want to talk about agents and Atlas. It's funny because the first time I tested Atlas, what is an Automation Town session? Just trying to understand, like, OpenAI literally launched a browser like a Google Chrome competitor. And I think there's some benefits to it, and people are still like getting the handle of like, where is it useful, where is it not? So what are agents? Just to clarify, what are agents in the first place? Agents are meant to act in much more open-ended ways, where you now, rather than just expecting an answer, you're expecting an output. You're expecting them to go out, do something with your computer, do something in a browser, and I guess give you the end result, right? They can use the browsers just like a human would, including spreadsheets. You can combine now every tool available, right? So for example, they have the ability to open a browser if they feel like that's what they're going to need. They can use a terminal, use your computer, they can use connectors, access to other tools. They can use the chat to ask you clarifying questions. And it kind of like picks what tools to use at any given time, depending on the command or the goal you're trying to ask of it. It's still early, and let's just say that's not something I would recommend you run unattended, because it can go rogue in many ways, right? The more power you give to it, the more it could potentially go in a direction that you don't want. But I do want to talk about a couple of use cases. Actually, I'd rather go in and share an example of what this looks like, and specifically the browser, because it's something I'm excited about. Actually, I feel like there's still a lot of questions, especially around security. It's a little bit tricky. It's not particularly comforting to be using OpenAI and just getting it to see everything you do in a browser. So, let's just say that I wouldn't necessarily recommend it with like actual data at the time being, but let's actually go in and log into this QuickBooks account, in this case, with Atlas, and try to see if it can do some stuff, some useful accounting work for us. Sorry, guys, as usual, there's the two-factor authentication that gets in the way. So you'll have to give me a second here.
I'm super interested to see this because I have not even deployed Atlas or played with it in any way.
Yeah, let's do it. Actually, two things that are important to understand right now. Here I am in the browser, and two things worth noting. If I click here, I'll get literally, you see what I was seeing just in my account, the GPTs, the projects, and the chats. I'll see that right away. So I have very easy access to my history on ChatGPT, but I can now ask any particular questions. And in these questions, you'll be able to, I also have access to all of the tools, meaning I can put up agent mode and get it to like now take over my computer. Not only does it not have to, set up a browser that I have to like log in and type my passwords into, because now it can use the session I am already logged in into. So I'll put here the code and let's just ask it. By the way, this is like a demo account that we used years ago. It's not like real data. So that's why I feel comfortable just running this. But imagine, and this is what I was saying at the beginning, with a workflow, you're telling it what to do. Imagine you tell it, hey, I'm going to give you the trial balance and I want you to find X, Y, and Z things. Imagine here, I can just tell it, hey, just like reconcile my books, right? They're a mess. Let's say that's what I say. It should, in theory, recognize that it's going to need access to my computer. And it's telling me, hey, would you like me to continue? I need access to your stuff. You can see here that's logged in. If I click on continue, you notice that this now turned on, which is the agent mode. And it should, in theory, take over my mouse. Or you can see at least it has a mouse on it. And it starts to think about how to solve the problem I gave it. And it kind of shows you that thought process over time. Okay, the users, they want to reconcile the books. Probably they need their accounting records. Should I clarify and tell them, or should I just start and try to get the task, start getting the task done? I'll say that I am particularly impatient with it, but you can see, okay, it knows that it wants to go through transactions. It identified that that's probably the best place to go. It went to reconcile, the reconcile tab, and it's trying to kind of like figure itself out, navigate the UI, understand where it has to go to accomplish what I asked of it. I don't know if this is like exciting or scary for the people in the room, but I think this is kind of like where we're going potentially as AI gets better and better. And if we're comfortable giving it that level of detail. You can see that I get stuck. It worked for about a minute and it's telling me, hey, these are all the bank accounts or the accounts we could reconcile. Is there any particular one you want me to use first? What should we tell it, Kelly? Any account?
Well, yeah, I guess what I'm curious about is, could you ask it just to run through them in the order of the chart of accounts?
Okay, why don't you go through all of them in order? Because technically the order doesn't matter. Technically speaking. So let's see what it does. And again, this is an account that has like, probably not the best example because it has a bunch of old data. It doesn't have recent data. It has a bunch of accounts that are really disconnected. So, take that with a grain of salt, but at least it's a way to demonstrate what we're hoping becomes available and possible. And I think is an interesting use case. Technically speaking, you can see here it's selected it like Stripe Hero account, and let's see what it proceeds to do. And by the way, this is not even something we're advising clients on. We're still using either the common automation tools to try to do what we need, and or some sort of more deterministic or logical algorithmic way of getting the job done, rather than just tell the AI, hey, do this thing, because it will typically require the human to step in.
I was wondering where the ending balance and ending date was going to come from.
Yeah, so it has that question. Can you do? And that's an account we never use actually, so that's probably not the best example.
Can you ask it to pull it from the ending balance in the bank feed for that date? I know, believe me, that's not how I would do a reconciliation ever, but I am curious.
I wanted to do it for an account that has some data at least.
Okay.
So I'll just tell it to try to pull the ending balance from the bank feed for that date and do it for a different account to see if it's able to. Let me ask you this: to get that information, it has to go to a different screen, correct?
Correct. It will have to go into the bank screen or a register. I'm not sure what it's going to do. It's probably going to grab it from the register.
We'll see. I mean, at least it's trying to still reconcile it.
Oh, yeah, bank feed for that date. So it may want to do it from the register.
This is interesting. This is interesting. Well, people might have missed it, but it says Stripe USD has this particular ID. And that tells me actually it doesn't only have access to what it's seen on the screen,
right?
But almost like the code underneath. They think it could give it an advantage in trying to navigate and solve a particular problem. Melanie says, when I first learned accounting, my accounting systems class was hybrid, part paper, part accounting system, and we were concerned about our jobs. Honestly, I want to address that. I know it's just 4 minutes before we go. This is kind of the last thing really I wanted to share. It got stuck again. It's suggesting I was able to use the bank feed, and it shows an ending balance of October 1st. But this is more the reconcile screen. I don't know if is that what you would have landed on, or you would have landed on, Kelly?
Bank feed, Stripe, QuickBooks pulled the statement ending balance and date automatically, which it does. It does for some banks, right? Mm-hmm. Cleared balance difference. Yeah. Can you let me know what transactions should be marked as cleared? Okay. So we're really into the human element at this point.
Yeah, it gets stuck. It's not going to be able to perform the entire task. So some thoughts from other people about agents in general and this particular like AI browser space. Chad Davis, I remember when Agent first came out, he kind of tested like 25 different tasks, and his thought was like, hey, I'm not ready to make a judgment call. It's more reliable than reliable. I talked with him last week, haven't asked him a particular question, but I suspect he feels the same. Some other like news outlets like The Verge suggest that AI browsers are a security time bomb because they see too much of your life. So there's a little bit of a higher surface of attack. I feel like we might find ways around it because technically cybersecurity has been an issue since computers are a thing, and we've found ways to address them. Redditors, if you really want to know the truth about whether something works or not, go to Reddit because people don't lie there. Some people like the minimal, elegant, sort of almost like the UI, the design of the platform. They mentioned sort of like what I hinted at, the fact that you can have a browser and have the agent, so now you don't have to, step in to like give them your password. It's a little bit less, a little bit more comforting in some respects. A lot of people are complaining about like battery drain, upsells, meaning they just want you to upgrade to their paid accounts to do whatever. And again, just inconsistent behavior. It kind of needs you for most tasks or use case today. But that's Agent and Atlas. I think something that people can play with right now. I wouldn't feel comfortable with people using it, or rely on it over long term at the moment.
Okay. If you are going to answer Melanie's question, can you read the entire question, including the end statement?
Sorry, what was that again?
Melanie, she put a statement in. I think you said you wanted to address that. You wanted to address Melanie's statement, but anybody who's watching this won't know what her question is.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I see a question. I see a statement that says, when I first learned accounting, my accounting system was part paper, part accounting system, and we were concerned about our jobs. Oh, I remember what I wanted to say.
Oh, but can you read the whole statement? People can't see it. I want to give Melanie credit for where she's going with this.
Perfect. When I first learned accounting, my accounting system class was hybrid, part paper, part accounting system. And we were concerned about our jobs. I'm excited about AI doing a lot of our wrong work, so I can focus on advisory, analysis, and process improvements. So excellent. I think that most people shouldn't be afraid of AI. It's the same story repeating itself. And I'll tell you this, just to drive the point home. I do have another call, so we'll be wrapping up here shortly. My dad was an accountant. He is right now almost 70 years old. I picked up a book from his shelf, dusty, raw book, like all the paper as like super dusty and it's like super like almost brownish, right? Because it's so old. It's I think 40-year-old book back when he was in college, right? The first page said automation and how it's taking accountants' jobs 40 years ago, and it hasn't happened. Some people suggest, is this time different? Maybe it is. I don't think so. I think we'll still find ways to have the human involved in some way that adds value beyond what the technology. Just my thoughts, and I think maybe it's a good note to end the workshop on, with just some positive vibes around the whole AI, and kind of really I'm not a huge believer on the whole it will kill jobs kind of thing. Jobs will change, sure, but I think we'll find ways for humans to be involved.
Okay.
Would you agree?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I have loved to be on the front edge of technology for a long time. So when bank feeds came along, it was going to be the same thing. Yet here we still are. And I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen with anything. So right now, I'm just enjoying the ride and using it to the best of my ability to help my clients out and to make my days easier.
And that's exactly what I believe the rest of our audience should do as well.
Right.
Perfect. Well, with that, we will wrap up. Thanks for all of you who joined it, especially those of you who participated. Donna, so lovely that you joined in. I appreciate it. And with that, Kelly as well, of course. Grateful that you are willing to come in and be my guest and my moderator to keep me on track and add some valuable comments. So I appreciate you, appreciate the audience, and thanks all of you for coming.
Okay.
Today's event has ended. To earn CPE, go to earmark.app or scan the QR code on the screen. Then log in or create your free account. Search for the course by tapping on the magnifying glass icon on the home screen and then entering the name of this event. It takes a few days to make the course, so if you're attending this event live, keep an eye out for an email letting you know when the course is available. Pass the quiz to earn your CPE, then tap the button to email yourself a certificate. Stay tuned for more events from Earmark. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.